Tour of Guangxi will be interesting for a number of reasons. It's the punishment tour, favourite punishment tour of the
No,
year.
it'll be interesting for one reason, Johnny.
Okay, fine. It'll be interesting because it's where the UCI are piloting, is that the right word? The controversial gearing rule that they want to maybe introduce. And this story has grown legs because we're having back and forth statements between SRAM, the UCI. It's all, there's nothing we like more here than
It's like
than
argument by
statements.
in Austin times, where everyone's sending letters back and forth and getting just festering in between.
Well, I mean,
I wish I
the
knew
main
more
news
often
here,
to make a pun
Johnny,
there.
the main news here is that SRAM are effectively bringing the UCI to court
Yes.
over the proposed, over the gear restriction rule that isn't yet a rule, but will be trialled at the Tour de Guangxi. And
So-
SRAM, go ahead, sir.
No, so I was going to say, Ronan, as succinctly and speaking to me like, let's say, a 14-year-old as possible, give me the lowdown briefly on what this is, if people have missed the story, and then this whole potential court thing and the statements.
So the UCI want to trial a maximum gear ratio at the Tour de Guangxi. Their thinking is that by capping the largest gear that the riders have, it will slow down the peloton, which in turn will improve safety. That has been pretty much debunked. Dan Bigham made a pretty good, or had a pretty good presentation at the Science and Cycling Conference just before the Tour de France, which pointed out why this wouldn't work in terms of slowing down the peloton. And he also claimed that it distracts attention away from where the attention should be in terms of improving course design and other elements like that will actually improve safety. Nevertheless, the UCI are pressing on with it. They intend to limit the rollout. If you put your bike in the biggest gear possible and to roll out the size of that gear, they're looking to cap it at 10.46 meters, which more or less equates to the equivalent of a 54 front chainring and 11 sprocket on your rear wheel, and 28 mil tires or 30 mil tires. Yeah. Anyway, it's around about 10.46 meters. They're not going to do rollouts because to do that before each World Tour race is impractical with 180 riders on the line. So what they're effectively going to say is 54.11 and 28 or 30 mil tires, and they're just going to let anybody with that combination pass. The problem with that is that SRAM cassettes include a 10-tooth cog. SRAM cassettes are a one-piece design, so you can't just remove that 10-tooth cog and replace it with a spacer. Even if you could, that's not exactly a practical solution either. And so to get a gear that would comply with this trial regulation, SRAM riders would have to use a 49-tooth chainring with a 10-tooth sprocket. The problem is SRAM don't make a 49-tooth chainring, and so the SRAM riders will have to drop to a 48-tooth chainring, which SRAM are now arguing, first of all, distorts the whole plan. They say distorts the drivetrain market because the UCI will be effectively banning their most popular combinations within the World Tour. The SRAM are arguing that it unfairly targets SRAM and SRAM riders, and they're arguing that it breaches EU competition law. And they've filed a case with the Belgian Competition Authority, citing Articles 101 and 102 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. TFEU for short. That's pretty much where we're at. The UCI have come back and said that they were blindsided by the Belgian Competition Authority, who announced this in a press release on Friday morning, which is kind of ironic given that they normally just announce things themselves without really telling anybody. And that they plan to push on with the trial regardless. The UCI have since released a second statement in which they have questioned SRAM's motivations in filing this case. effectively suggesting that SRAM are not interested in these safety improvements that they believe the gearing restriction will bring about. SRAM's position is that this is going to do reputational damage to them. It makes this race unfair, or it unfairly penalises their riders in this trial race, even if it doesn't go to a rule in future, which let's face it, it probably will, given the UCI's history with these sorts of things. And that's kind of the UCI have said, well, we believe it's going to improve safety. They've said that it was recommended by SAFER, which is their group that looks at improving road race safety. They cited the CPA rider survey in in UCI's response, saying that riders are behind us, and that the UCI have also said that the SRAM are wrong, that this rule is applied fairly and uniformly across all riders, which is both technically true but also sort of practically misleading, because yes, the rule is the same for all riders, but not all riders can adhere to it the same.
So how many riders in the peloton are using SRAM?
Off the top of my head, I think it's 4 teams in the men's peloton and 6 teams in the women's peloton.
Okay. That was a very succinct explanation. I was with you the whole way, so thank you for that. Maybe if I'm going to break it down for people even less tech-minded than me, would you say it's similar to the UCI coming along and saying that you're only allowed to use Android phone chargers or Android-style phone chargers, and that if you are using Apple phone chargers, that's no good anymore? And so Apple are going to have to change theirs to be the same as everyone else's, or does that not work?
No.
You know how Apple have different plugs to everyone?
No, because they don't anymore, because EU came along and said you have to make everything USB-C, and so Apple did have to change.
Oh, true. I've just got an old phone. Okay, so that shows that doesn't work. But how does that side with? That sides with SRAM? No, it sides with UCI.
It's different though, because it's different because it's not like your phone no longer sent messages as well, because the EU decided
that. I wish I hadn't opened that can of worms.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that barring any disaster, I'm off to Guangzhou this year, which usually will be lots of fun, but now it will come with the added medicine of probably having to do lots of reporting on gear ratios.
I think so first of all, this, I mean, for SRAM, yes, they're on the verge of their World Tour combinations being prohibited within the World Tour, but actually in terms of public perception, I mean, all the comments on these pieces that we've published so far about this, and all the social media comments are like, "Go SRAM, thank you SRAM, the next group set I'm going to buy is SRAM." So in terms of PR, it couldn't be going better. But actually, in terms of the UCI, I think this gives them the trial, and there's an easy way out of the case, and that is, so if the trial goes ahead, the UCI can then turn around and say, well, we done the trial, we didn't find anything, so now we're just going to get rid of this rule. It's not going to help. Because the trial is so fundamentally flawed also, that it's actually just embarrassing to be a cyclist when you hear what the UCI are planning to do as a trial. It's almost embarrassing to be a human, because they're going to run a race with all the impossible number of variables and permutations and all the different ways that a race could unfold, and they're going to try and determine whether or not it's proved safer because the gears were smaller in that race. Yeah. And I mean, you could run the same race 100 times, and you would get in each different running of it, you would get different crashes, and it is impossible to tell which crashes didn't happen, because they didn't happen. And so what the UCI, and what the UCI is actually doing is like removing the one thing that they're trying to prove causes crashes, and then trying to say that it's safer because that didn't happen. And you've got all the other races that run at the moment that do include that variable. Anyway, I'm getting a bit bogged down here now, but I think they could the UCI could run the race. They could say we ran our trial, we found no difference because crashes still happened, which presumably they probably will. Although it is at Guangxi, the race where nobody cares, and so the guys are less likely to be taking risks anyway, and so crashes are less likely. But if I finally get to the end of my point, they can drop the rule. Hopefully, then the SRAM case would disappear, and they can save face. Whether or not they're smart enough to take that opportunity, I'm not so sure, because there have been opportunities to drop all this over the last 12 months that we've been reporting on this being a thing, and they haven't taken them. So only time will tell.
Right. Well, thank you, Ronan, for Ronan's Corner this week. We're going to take another quick little break, and then when we're back, a couple of items to close out the show.